Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the news across the northwest.
A very good evening. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
Tom died a preventable death just hours before his daughter was born. Now a coroner's backed his widow's demand hospitals make vital changes which could save others.
I was getting new baby cards and sympathy cards on the same day. It just doesn't, it's not right. It's not right, and I just think no one should ever have to go through that.
And then there were destroyers, and there were cruisers, and there were battleships, and aircraft carriers. And they were all firing over the top of us.
Normandy veteran Ken shares his terrifying memories of the Allied invasion ahead of the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
We'll also be live in France, hearing from the Stockport Group, dedicated to a lasting legacy for those who played their part in the longest day.
King of the TT, Michael Dunlop sets a new record for the most wins on the Isle of Man track.
The jet stream continues to bring in this cool air from the Arctic, hence why it's feeling so fresh out there at the moment. And you'll notice it doesn't move very far in a hurry either in the coming few days, but I'll bring you all the details later in the programme.
So please stay with us for all of that. First tonight, a coroner wants changes to how medics analyse certain heart scans after a dad-to-be died from a cardiac arrest on the same day his daughter was born.
Tom Gibson and his partner Rebecca Moss were happily expecting their first child last summer. But Rebecca ended up desperately trying to give him CPR to save him. And just a few hours after he died, she went on to have their baby girl.
His inquest concluded today, and it revealed how a scan just days before he died had been misinterpreted. Anne O'Connor reports.
Harper's first birthday is on Friday, but her daddy won't be there. Tom Gibson died on the day she was born. Hours before her mother, Rebecca, was due to deliver their daughter, she was desperately giving Tom chest compressions, finding him cold and silent on the couch at home in Stretford. He died before she had their baby at Wythenshawe Hospital, where Tom had been sent home 11 days earlier when doctors failed to spot the heart condition that killed him.
I was getting new baby cards and sympathy cards on the same day. It just doesn't, it's not right. No one should ever have to go through that.
The inquest heard doctors accepted Tom's complete heart block was missed and that more experienced eyes should have seen the 2 ECGs he was given. An independent cardiologist agreed with the coroner that had Tom been monitored and given a pacemaker, he would most likely have survived.
The coroner is sending a report to the NHS Trust that runs Wythenshawe Hospital, raising concerns about missed opportunities to learn from Tom's case. In particular, communication between clinicians and departments. Speaking after the inquest, surrounded by family, Rebecca Moss agreed.
The expertise that could have saved Tom's life was just one phone call away. Learning this here was devastating, and it is my view that there is a culture of failing to recognise when specialist guidance is needed at Wythenshawe Hospital. Communication could have made all the difference to Tom's life, and we wouldn't be in the situation that we are today.
Tom was 40. 12 people under 35 die every week from undiagnosed heart conditions. The charity Cardiac Risk in the Young fights for more screening.
At least an ECG, and that ECG needs to be read by a doctor who has specialism in reading ECGs of young people, because these conditions can easily be missed or dismissed.
The day before he died, the couple agreed Tom was too ill to see his daughter born.
And he was so upset. I just said, look, you're going to have the next 40 years with her, don't worry about it. Just because you're not going to be there when she's born, it doesn't matter, you'll be there forever.
Rebecca says Tom was looking forward to pushing his daughter on the swings and in her pram. Now, they both have to go on without him. Anne O'Connor, ITV News, Stockport.
And our thanks to Rebecca for talking to us there. Well, we asked Manchester University NHS Foundation Trust to discuss this case with us. They said they're sorry that their care fell short and they'll be reviewing the coroner's conclusions carefully. Well, next, 80 years ago tonight, imagine the tension for Ken, just 17 years old here, and one of the many thousands of young servicemen heading off to play their part in the Normandy landings. They had no idea what lay ahead of them on D-Day. They had no idea of the enormous sacrifice and bravery that would be expected from them.
In the end, they earned a truly special place in the history books, and tomorrow marks the 80th anniversary of the day the Allies invaded France and paved the way towards the end of the Second World War in Europe.
Well, tonight we bring you Ken's story, but before that we can cross live to Normandy, where we join Paul Crone on Sword Beach. The code name, of course, one of the main landing areas, Paul.
Yes, good evening. As you say, we're here on Sword Beach. There was 3 British landing zones, Juno, Gold and here at Sword. And it's worth noting that by the end of D-Day 1944, 130,000 men had landed in Normandy. Absolutely extraordinary. As for the veterans, well, they're a dwindling band of brothers. It's important we don't forget, it's important we remember one group of people who are making sure that there is a lasting legacy are a lovely lot from Stockport of men and women who are on their own special pilgrimage to Normandy. Ensuring future generations don't forget, French soldiers landing on Sword Beach this morning. And it seems there's no shortage of those remembering D-Day 1944, not least a group who travel from Stockport, all who have very special reasons for being in Normandy.
My dad, Alan Johnson, was a D-Day veteran.
My father, Joe Withnall, was a Normandy veteran.
My dad, John, was a D-Day veteran.
My father, Arthur, and his brother Bill were both Normandy veterans.
Over a dozen members of the Stockport Normandy Veterans Legacy attended a service at Colville, Montgomery, a stone's throw from the Normandy beaches.
Every moment I get, I tell people that he was a Normandy veteran, and of course he was awarded the Legion d'Honneur, which is a great honour.
And we used to call them heroes, but they always were adamant that they weren't heroes. They were just ordinary men doing extraordinary things.
This is a pilgrimage to remember their dads who took part in the Normandy campaign who are no longer alive. John McHugh's mother was heavily pregnant with her son John when her husband died from his wounds the day after D-Day.
I'm so proud. It hurts.
He was on a minesweeper that went in the night before D-Day, clearing the ocean of the mines to make way for the other ships.
Invité aujourd'hui pour célébrer le 80e anniversaire du débarquement sur le square Montgomery.
As the service at Colville took place with the last remaining living veterans, it was an emotional moment for the Stockport group. Do you find peace? Do you find sadness? Is it both?
Both at the moment. For my dad, excuse me, and also my sister, because she's no longer with us.
I come back in memory of my dad and my uncle, but on our website we've got about 50 veterans, and I interviewed them all, and as you said, they all had their own stories, and I come back because they're in my heart, and I've come back today particularly for them, for the 80th.
The group say this may well be their last visit to Normandy, but will continue their work in schools back home, telling younger generations about their dads and the part they played back in 1944.
And such important work telling them about that part. Paul, when we think of D-Day, we think about the men who were storming up the beaches under Nazi machine gun fire, but there were so many others involved at home and out at sea too.
That's right, it's estimated 7,000 vessels took part in Operation Overlord. Can you imagine 7,000 vessels crossing the Channel? That's not even before you start counting the airborne divisions. Now, we're here at Sword Beach. This memorial literally does sum it all up. It's in French. I'll do my best to translate. We got the 6th of June 1944, 28,845 soldiers disembarked onto Sword Beach. 177 French commandos from Number 4, so the French landed as well, took back, liberated their own country. But au soir du D-Day, so by the end of D-Day, it was a very different picture. 1,304 Allied soldiers dead, wounded or missing. And it gets worse. Across the 5 zones, across the 5 beaches, 4,400 Allies had died. And here, just off the coast in Ouistreham, you've got 2,200 French civilians that were victims of all the Allied bombing. Absolutely horrendous figures. OK, you saw his picture a little bit earlier on. It's time to do introduce our star, 98-year-old Ken Benbow from Kirkham in Lancashire. I know he's watching tonight, but he's coming out to Normandy tomorrow. He's 98 and he was aboard HMS Crane on D-Day. And this is Ken Benbow's D-Day story. Full of smiles and life at the grand age of 98. Much as he was as a 17-and-a-half-year-old serving in the Royal Navy aboard the sloop HMS Crane.
Warships of the Royal Navy with units of the Canadian and United States Navies ranged their main armour on the coastal batteries.
Ken's ship was one of nearly 7,000 vessels which crossed the Channel on June the 6th, 1944. A shock awaited the naval teenager as dawn broke and he viewed the ensuing carnage and chaos.
All the bodies were in the water. A lot of them, the vessels had been sunk. There were destroyers and there were cruisers and there were battleships and aircraft carriers. And they were all firing over the top of us and firing right into France, up as far as Caen.
But Ken knew he had a job to do aboard HMS Crane.
I was in the ship's magazine, right down in the bottom. And they used to lock me in and I was there on my own. And I used to put the shells on the lift and do 3 shells a minute.
And even 80 years on, Ken can't forget what he saw in the waters off Normandy.
The ship had been blown up or else they'd been trying to go ashore in the water, put water up the base, and then some of them would collapse.
And after a German plane was shot down, the Crane's crew was sent to pick up the pilot from the Channel.
He picked up his parachute as well, and when we got back, the skipper had the parachute, and she said he kept her wife in knickers for the rest of her life because they were all of silk, and he took her home. She used to make knickers.
History is in the making at Yokosuka Naval Base as General MacArthur arrives to board a waiting destroyer, one of 3 which took surrender parties to the battleship in the harbour.
Ken Benbow's war ended in Tokyo Bay as he witnessed the Japanese surrender in 1945.
Ken, what an amazing man. Absolutely remarkable.
So much respect for all of our D-Day veterans. What extraordinary stories they're telling us this week.
That is putting it mildly, and we'll have more of those extraordinary stories from Paul in France tomorrow. Lots more special coverage of the D-Day anniversary itself.
Yeah, don't miss that. Well, next to an event that is firmly fixed in the nation's hearts, and this year we'll be sending a special person from our region to the Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards.
Yeah, and it looks set to be a big celebration this year as it marks its 25th birthday, and invited to the party will be one fantastic fundraiser from our region.
Yeah, here's Amrit Birdie with all the details.
The best of British. It's safe to say the Pride of Britain Awards is firmly cemented in the hearts of the nation. It's the red carpet event where the stars come out to honour ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Each year, one fantastic fundraiser gets to represent our region and attend the awards in London. They're even in with a chance of winning the overall Regional Fundraiser of the Year award. Last year, our regional fundraiser was Vera Rogers, who has taken part in charity abseils, skydives and wing walks, all to raise money for St Luke's Hospice in Winsford. So if you'd like to nominate someone to be our regional fundraiser of the year, you can head to our website. That's itv.com/Pride of Britain. You can only nominate individuals and they must be aged 18 or over. If you are under the age of 18, please get permission from a parent or guardian before you nominate. The closing date for nomination is Sunday the 11th of August, and full terms and conditions and our privacy notice can be found on our website. You never know, the Pride of Britain red carpet could be waiting for them. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
To tonight's sport now, Manchester City's chairman Khaldoon Al-Mubarak has urged the game's administrators to show, quote, more sensibility in how they regulate football finances.
Times newspaper that City had issued a legal claim against the Premier League.
A court case is due to start next week when City will challenge the legality of the league's commercial rules, in particular those involving sponsorship deals with companies owned or associated with a club's owners.
I think the Premier League got to where it is today by being the most competitive league. So I hope there's a bit more sensibility in regulating. Always a balanced approach is good from all the leagues, be it in England or the rest of Europe.
City say it's been proving, in their view, to be harder to sign other deals where Manchester City are saying it's going to take us months of getting approval from the Premier League, and potentially other sponsors are saying, well, if that's the case, we'll sign up with PSG, we'll sign up with Real Madrid, we'll sign up with Bayern Munich, because we don't have to go through this series of checks and balances, and therefore it's taking sponsorship away, and Manchester City want compensation for those loss of earnings.
Yeah, and of course we're watching for developments on that. Well, next to a piece of exciting sporting history that's unfolded on the Isle of Man. Michael Dunlop has set a new record for the most wins at the TT.
He broke the previous best of 26 victories, which, get this, was set by his uncle, the late great Joey Dunlop, and that record stood for nearly a quarter of a century. Our Isle of Man reporter Joshua Stokes was there to witness Big Win 27.
He is the greatest TT rider of all time. Dunlop wins the Mensela Super Twin TT race.
Crossing the line for his 27th TT trophy, Michael Dunlop makes history in the Isle of Man, witnessed by racing fans from across the world.
We're so glad to be here.
Yeah,
this is a dream come true for him.
Yeah,
He's
we came from Las Vegas.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. 27 wins, just fantastic.
Brilliant, unbelievable. Best ever, aye. You'll never beat him.
It's just incredible. We're lucky to be here to see that, really.
Brilliant,
Fantastic.
absolutely delighted for him.
Yeah.
I'm glad we were here to celebrate it.
A notion shared by Dunlop, who despite today's achievement is still looking for more.
It's great to see them out in the hedges and being as excited about it, but obviously more excited than me by the sounds of things.
You don't seem phased that you are the most successful TT rider of all time. Do you recognise that now? Do you feel that?
Well, so, you know, look, I've got another week, I've got another 5 races. I want to keep adding to my tally. I feel like we're in a good place. I just want to keep pushing, you know. It's maybe more when I sink in when I get home, but for now it's keep pushing.
Look at he comes in, how happy is that man, and so he should be.
Dunlop's success started in 2009. His first taste of victory on the mountain course, followed by win after win.
It just goes to show you should never write off a Dunlop.
Just days ago, he matched the all-time record set by his uncle Joey. A physical and mental challenge like no other, after racing claimed the lives of his uncle, his brother and his father.
Yeah, look, it stays in the family, and that's what it's all about, and that's what we've tried to do. Is the main thing is obviously keep the Dunlop name at the top, and that's what I'm trying to do, and trying to do it in the best way possible, and just keep pushing really, and just keep ticking along.
A racing dynasty that lives on through Michael Dunlop, the undisputed king of the mountain. Joshua Stokes, ITV News in the Isle of Man.
Yeah, undisputed achievements. Good, isn't it? Let's get the weather now. Here's Tori.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Good evening. It's been a bright, blustery day on the whole. There has been some sunshine, but also some rather sharp showers. There's been a little bit of hail and even some thunder mixed in there here and there as well. But it is also feeling quite cool, as I'm sure you've already noticed. The northwesterly breeze keeping that fresh flow of air coming in isn't going anywhere in a hurry. In fact, if anything, by Friday, we'll probably see some thicker cloud and a little bit more general light rain coming through. But on the whole, it is just staying fairly similar over the coming few days. So expect to see further showers through the rest of this evening. There will be one or two clearer spells through the night, particularly across northern parts of Lancashire, for example, where it could get really rather chilly by the early hours of the morning. So rather a fresh start. Sun up is at 4:43 and sunset is at 9:37. Hopefully that poor wood pigeon isn't going to get caught in too many more showers, but there will be more to come during the day tomorrow. Not as many as today, I wouldn't say. There'll be a little bit more sunshine, the showers fewer and further between, and with less of that blustery feel coming through. It's probably going to feel just a touch warmer, but temperatures more or less the same, maybe a degree up on today. Now, through the night tomorrow night, it is again generally dry. Can't rule out the odd shower, but we're looking at this occluded front heading our way for Friday. That's going to generally bring in a bit more cloud. Temperatures still much of a muchness, 14-15 degrees. There'll be a little bit of rain, but that will slowly ease during the day. So I'd say Friday evening better than the morning, and a similar day on Saturday, but perhaps more in the way of sunshine and slightly fewer showers, but temperatures always a degree or two below average.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Moderate grass pollen will rise in the warmth of any sunshine coming through in the next few days. There's also a little bit of nettle and dock pollen mixed in with that as well.
Yeah, many thanks for that, Tori. Finally tonight, some big news about someone who has had more than her fair share of drama in her 50 years on Coronation Street. 5 husbands, including a serial killer.
You're twisted. You're Norman Bates with a briefcase. And I don't want you living under the same roof as my family.
It's, of course, the amazing Helen Worth, who plays Gail, confronting killer Richard Hillman. She announced today that she's leaving.
I can't quite believe it. She's had so much to put up with on that programme over the years,
true.
hasn't she?
All those terrible husbands.
I think my highlight was the street fight with Eileen, where they were tearing each other's hair out. She says that it's been the most wonderful job on the most wonderful street in the world.
Quite something. Be a dramatic storyline to send her on her way to.
Yeah, we wish her well. Bye-bye.
Good night.